We still do 7 NUFC Matters show a week for free. But if you want to help support NUFC Matters, then there are a few ways of doing it. Hit the like button on each live broadcast and video. This helps the channel grow. Hit the subscribe button and select the all notifications bell so you don't miss a single show. If you want to help us financially, then you can join the channel using this button with the membership starting at $1.99 a month. Or you can drop us a donation in the chat using a super sticker. We're also looking for sponsors. If you'd like your brand advertised on the flyers for the show and featured during the ad break, then email John at nufcmatters.com to arrange today.
Attack. It feels like I've been talking to myself again, but it's the only way you're ever gonna learn. You look back and it's all in the past. I'm dwelling on the thoughts I cannot say to you.
Good evening, welcome to NUFC Matters with me, stevewraith, as always, and as requested, a few people have said, can you do another Q&A, Steve? We'd like to have you every now and then just do a question and answer. Could be about the channel, could be about Newcastle United, could be about anything. So for the next hour, you've got us all to yourselves without a guest on, and I do these sporadically, so get your questions in. Any questions you've got within reason, I will answer them. And Tom Dixon, good evening. He was first in. He says, great draw in the FA Cup away to Fulham. Then having a semi-final second leg 3 days before we play them. That's a big advantage for us. Tom, I would agree, mate. And I've got to be honest. I mean, I did the FA Cup draw live last night. And for me personally, I was delighted to get Fulham away. I prefer Fulham at home, of course. But when you look at the potential teams we could have had, Man City, Liverpool, Tottenham, I think avoiding all 3 of those clubs away from home will do me. I think Newcastle will have more than enough for Fulham, and yeah, they'll want revenge. They feel they were hard done by with the sending off up here, and that they shouldn't have been on the end of a 3-0 scoreline. But in all honesty, if Newcastle have got to win the cup, they've got to get past a team like Fulham, home or away. So yeah, I'm delighted with that, and I think you're right. We've got an advantage. We've got 2 weeks off now. We're going to have players back. I think the noise coming out of St James's Park today was that I saw Craig Hope post it last night, actually, that Joe Linton's got a thigh injury. It's not a hamstring, and that it's likely that he is going to miss the Man City game, but he should be fine after that, which means 2 weeks break. Well, I'm saying 2 weeks break, 2 weeks of R&R and back into training with the lads. Should see Joe Linton available for the cup game, which would be great. And then we've got Villa, of course. After that, we've got Aston Villa in the league game on the Tuesday night, I believe. So yeah, look, busy period coming up after the 2 week break, but boy, do we need it. Those injuries have been bad injuries. We've had some long injuries, the likes of Willock and Harvey Barnes out for a prolonged period. Elliot Anderson, could never have seen that coming. But for me, I think Eddie Howe points to it in his press conferences as well. We've got mental fatigue. I also think that the team is so used to winning, as they have been over the last 2 years, it'll have come as a bit of a shock to the system to suddenly be losing games. And it takes the coach, the manager, to get them around that. I think the Derby game for us, as it happens, couldn't have come out at a better time. Comprehensive win against your big rivals, your neighbours, 3-0 on their pitch. Doesn't matter how you did it, you did it. Come away now from that, going into the Man City game this weekend. And, for me personally, I think we could get something against Man City. But the players who were injured are coming back. The players who were tired, I think, have had that little bit of time to rest. And the fact that the players haven't been able to train together for a long period of time because of the Champions League, because of the Carabao Cup, because they've been doing intermittent sessions. Then now they're getting back onto the training ground, which is where the good work's done. So I expect something against Man City. We'll come to that, of course, on the Amigos later in the week. SJP Dave. Oh, there's the question. I was speaking in the WhatsApp group with my mates today with Steve and Stu and the lads and Neil, and they were saying, what are your thoughts on Fab? It would be interesting to hear your thoughts on it all. Dave. It's $1 million question. Look at what it's done on social media, for starters. What is Fab? Some people will be sitting there going, what is Fab? Well, it's a fan advisory board. It's a 9-person supporter board. Obviously, they announced that they were going to do this in November last year. And this is part really of the club's wider fan engagement plan. That's what it is. In essence, what's it replacing? Well, it's replacing the fans forum. It's going to be a conduit for two-way dialogue between supporters and the club's key decision makers. So the likes of Peter Silverstone and Darren Eales will sit, I guess, with Sarah Metcalf and others. And they're going to focus on the club's strategic vision and objectives, such as the business operations, stadium development, stadium moves, potentially, match day issues, heritage items, community activities, which I guess would involve, what the club do, and how they do it. And they'll also got to focus, because it ticks a box, on the club's equality, the diversity, and the inclusion. So this is that EDI commitments. And when I saw the committee, I obviously recognised Marion Williams straight away. Marion was part of the much maligned fans liaison committee. I believe that the way the fans liaison committee and Rogan Taylor suggested that the club do it was the right way, using the electoral committee to do it democratically, legally. Yes, that costs money, but I think that was the right way to do it. What I disagree with was essentially my position that I was given. I was hired, I was on the payroll as the fans liaison officer working for the club. Now, that's a job that Lee Marshall has been doing for a considerable amount of time. It's now been passed on. We've now got supporter services. But ultimately, that's what I disagreed with. And I agreed with the fans. There was a lot of animosity towards me actually having that job. They were saying that the fans liaison committee is a farce because it has to liaise with me. But in essence, it's the right thing to do in a lot of ways. But now this is what this committee is doing. This fan advisory board is going to be meeting with some of the movers and shakers at the club. They suggest that's going to be Darren Eales and Peter Silverstone. Now, that's great. Listen, I think in a lot of ways it's great, because it means fans are sitting and they're talking to the club. But this is where the problems arise. You look at the committee. They laid out exactly how they wanted this committee to be. It had to tick the boxes. It had to have an international supporter. Now, I've seen the international supporter, who I believe is what's she called? Natalie Noyes. Yeah, now I've seen a lot of stuff on there. I don't know Natalie. I've never spoken to her, never met her, never interacted with her on social media. I've seen her coming in for a lot of stick. Some of the stuff that's on the internet, is it true or isn't it true? I'm not going to get into that. I don't know, because I don't know her. Suggesting that she supports another club, that she has only just come along as a supporter now. And, ultimately, she is probably not the person right for that particular position. I've seen her get more stick than anybody else. I've seen one or two others cop it. I've seen the people who were part of the Newcastle United Supporters Trust. Again, 10,000 members. That's a reduction, I believe, from when I was on the committee. I think they used to have 14,000 members, but now they've got 10,000. People do fall away from organisations, etc. But the advantages, as we've spoken about on this platform on many occasions, is that the NUST have to meet the Premier, have to meet the football club for the Premier League, to tick a box with Newcastle United. You can meet the trust. So that answers your question as to why there's nobody on there from Newcastle United Supporters Club. They may not have applied. I don't know whether anybody who is part of Newcastle United Supporters Club applied to be on, because there was a period where you could all apply. I could have applied. I chose not to. There was a lot of people who applied for it, and I think it was over 400 applications. Now that might have been for the correct me if I'm wrong, but that could have been just for the overseas position. But I wouldn't imagine there was thousands and thousands of people opting to be on this, and that really tells you that people know what this is. It's a tick and box exercise. It's a token shop. These people are not really going to have any power, and they are the ones who I guess the club have agreed to talk to. One thing I probably disagree with is that there's a 3-year period for certain people on this committee, and I'll just what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the website here, and it says each co-opted representative will have a 3-year tenure, while other positions will have 2 years. Now, I think if you're going to run that, 2 years is enough. I don't know why the co-opted representatives are having 3, but some people will say, well, what difference does a year make? But I think that I think maybe there should have been an opportunity there for others to come in and have a chat. If they're not going to have any power to make decisions, etc., and this is just the club picking individuals to have a conversation with regards to their opinions on Newcastle United and what they are doing, then give as many people an opportunity to do that as possible who want to do it, would be my suggestion. But each to their own, I guess. It also says the 9 members will select their chair and vice chair and convene for the first time at an informal meeting in January. Standard procedure. And then there's going to be a formal FAB meeting in February. Now, the big question is, and it doesn't answer it on here, is are these minutes of the meeting going to be shared? Or are we just going to have a press release coming from the club saying this is what happened? I'd like to know the answer to that question, but it will be interesting. The people who are involved, well, I've already talked about the international representative. We've got Michael McCarthy, who's the season ticket holder, fan representative. Basically, long family tradition of supporting Newcastle, season ticket holder since '91. Traveled to a lot of away games, he says. He only has 160 loyalty points, which, is a substantial amount. But, I think that the top tier of loyalty points are bordering towards like 700-800 loyalty points. So hasn't been as many away games. He may well have been through the similar thing as me, had kids and not had the opportunity to go away as much as he would have liked to. But he's been to Europe. He aims to watch Newcastle in all 92 stadiums. He's also travelled to watch under 23 games too. And then they just, give an idea of, what kind of job they do. This seems to have caused a bit of interest in and amongst the fan base on Twitter. He's the CEO of Consilium Academies. So he's got responsibility over 6,000 young people and 1,500 staff across the north of England. Marion Williams, I've mentioned her. She's another one of the season ticket holder fan representatives. She's been season ticket holder for 23 years. She was part of the fans liaison committee. She's a councillor for Blake Law Ward at Newcastle City Council, and she's a cabinet member for Connected Clean City. And she saw this as the opportunity to continue the journey as the fans, as she was on the fans liaison committee, a voice for the fans engaging with the club. She went, I believe there are some exciting times ahead. So pretty simple with that. Rajat Nair, apologies if that's not the correct pronunciation, is the member fan representative. Been a fan for 30 years, fell in love with Newcastle during the entertainers, like a lot of people did, but didn't attend his first game until the Sir Bobby Robson era in the FA Cup. Been a member of the club for a number of years, continues to attend home games and brought his young family to experience the first match in the Cellar Cup, he says. Currently, he works for Evelyn Partners LLP as a tax director. You've then got Thomas Simmons, who's the young fans representative, followed Newcastle for 15 years. Natalie Noyes, already mentioned her. She's based in New York. Her first match was May 2023, which is what has got a lot of people up in arms. She mentions she's been to the Sam Fender shows and went to all 3 games in America this pre-season. She graduated from University of Michigan and the University of Connecticut School of Law. So, gives you an idea of the level of fan we've got here. Paul Carter, NUST fan group representative. He's on NUST, only got elected in 2023, 49 years of age, been in recruitment for 26 years, first game at Newcastle in 1979. Season ticket holder for 30 years. Haven't seen much of objection to Paul Carter being involved. Adam Stoker from NUST. Not sure why you have to have two from NUST on there. This is where you could have had somebody from NUSC. Elected to the board in 2023. Works in communications. Been a season ticket holder for 13 years. And he's a member of War Flags. So I think maybe if he'd been put down as a War Flags representative, that might have seemed better, I think, rather than putting it in NUST. United with Pride fan group representative is Claire Wintrip. Of course, Newcastle, have United with Pride as part of the club. She's been involved with that for 2 years now. Been supporting Newcastle since she was 4. So 40 years ago, she says she fell in love with the club. Joe Ayton from NUDSA, the Newcastle United Disabled Supporters Association. He's been involved with NUDSA since it was formed 25 years ago. Again, good to have representation from NUDSA. And that's the crux of your committee. My thoughts, Dave, and I had to go through that because there'll be a lot of people on here who won't actually have read that or won't know. And if they have read it, certainly won't know who these people are. For me personally, I am not going to be a hypocrite and say this shouldn't happen, because I went out on road shows with the likes of Steve Hasty and Mitch when the club were setting up the fans liaison committee. And I personally didn't know then that the club were going to offer me a job. I genuinely thought it was a great idea. And I genuinely thought that we had to get something like that for communication, because we all know the communication was absolutely horrendous in the days of Freddie Shepherd and Douglas Hall. And it was also poor in the days of Mike Ashley. So to have a fans liaison group, a FAB as it's called now, a fan advisory board, I think it's a good idea. But I understand the frustration of people that people will have, because people just feel it'll be a talking shop and we won't get anywhere with it. So yeah, we'll wait and see what happens with it. But that gives you your answer, I guess, to that. Tom Dixon says, with Joe Linton out, would you start Miley at the weekend? I think so. I think it was the right thing to do, Tom. I think resting Miley against Sunderland and bringing him on as a substitute was correct. He's played a lot of games. He's a young lad. I think they might have targeted him if he'd started in that game at the weekend. And, it proved to be so, because 09, of course, made that horrendous challenge on him. And, I think Miley's, big enough and strong enough to be able to cope with that, but he is still quite young. So took the pressure off, brought him on. Newcastle were 2-0 up. Joe Linton had gone off. And great to see, him not react to that challenge from 09 and push ahead and do what he had to do. Dave, good evening. He says, Steve, who's the best journalist to trust? You speak as you find, don't you? I always find, that Craig Hope is certainly one who I would trust as far as the storyline's concerned at the moment, because he's got a good relationship with Amanda and Mairdad. And, as long as he doesn't do anything to upset the apple cart with Amanda and Mairdad, then, he's going to get a story probably ahead of other people. Again, I've always liked Ian Murder. The only time Ian and I didn't see eye to eye was when he, was pro Steve Bruce. I've never liked Steve Bruce, and never. Well, not got anything against him personally, but never liked Steve Bruce as a football manager. And I was one of the first to put out there when he signed as a Newcastle manager that journal article, which is still available online, where he says he never wanted to manage Newcastle United. That was, of course, when he took the Sunderland job. So if you're going to say that, stick with your principles and don't take the job when it comes along just for the money, which is exactly what he did. And for me, I didn't agree with the way Ian covered things. But yeah, you asked me for one. If I'm going to have somebody who I go to on Twitter, who I read and often retweet on X, it's Craig Hope at this moment in time, because I know he's getting the inside news. Other than that, very few people do I go to for stories, and we pick up a lot ourselves, and we don't share a great deal because we're not in the know, but we do pick up quite a bit, and in our different circles, and when I say we, I mean me, Steve, Stu, and Neil. We've had our ear to the ground for best part of 40 years, all of us, and we've built up some good contacts and we get some good information. We don't always share it, but the one thing we did share was, of course, the takeover of the club when we could. Not yet, Gary. He says, has the Villa game been put back? Not yet. Tuesday night is potentially the night that we'll have to play them after the cup game. Good evening, Kevin. Good evening, Andrew. Tom with another question: would you sell Wilson if a good bid came in for him, with him being too injury prone? The answer, Tom, for me is no. I don't want to sell Callum Wilson. Reason being that his strike rate is phenomenal, and yes, he gets injured a lot, but me personally, I'd like to keep him. I'd like to sign another striker, which of course would mean that we would have Callum Wilson, Alexander Isak, and another. And I think that is the way to go. I think if we could have Wilson as somebody who would sit on the bench and come on when needed, I think that will be vital moving forward, especially with me. I still believe we'll qualify for Europe next year. I think we'll finish in a Europa spot. And I think having Callum Wilson available, putting pressure, if he was willing to do that, I think would be fantastic. But I wouldn't sell him. No, I definitely wouldn't. Good evening, Ray. You finally found a show where I can answer a question. Ray, if you are listening, Wraith, not Wraith. Wraith. Newcastle United, he says, should sign, and he goes off for this list of names as he does when he often comes on here. I would agree with Calvin Phillips' short-term loan. I think if we can get him in, and it's going to help him get to the Euros next year, and it's going to help this year, and going to help. It's going to help us, in our quest for Europe. Then I'd be delighted with that. So yeah, 100%. Calvin Phillips is a definite for me. Ekatike, I would say no. If he was the only option, as far as bringing a striker was concerned coming in, I would say Ekatike might be worth taking a gamble. But the fact that he knocked us back, Ray, is something which annoys me. And if he knocked us back once, where's the loyalty? Gasari, I've got no idea. I've got no real input on him. I've read about him. I've never really seen him play. Lots of people, rate him. Do I think that's going to be an incoming in January? I'd say no. Solanke, I'd say no. And Henderson, I'd say absolutely not. And I think he'd say the same. I don't think a former Sunderland legend would want to come to Newcastle, and I don't think we would want him. And I know people can say, well, Bob Moncur did it, Paul Bracewell did it, Barry Venison did it, etc., 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 Lee Clark. I'd be very surprised if he came. I really would be. But I don't think he'd want to, and I personally wouldn't want him. Yes, Gary, he is. Mick Mullane, good evening. I hope you're well. Get your questions in, folks. As I say, I often do this, once every so often. So if you've got any questions, get them in. Captain Keith Hart, he says, hi, Steve. Do you know how long Murphy's out for? I don't. But obviously that shoulder injury is a concern. It's a concern that Nick Pope has had too now, because shoulders very, very, very rarely, heal completely. And of course, there's the risk of it happening again. So I don't know how long he's out for. I watch Eddie Howe's press conferences. I do the review on the channel, and it looks fairly likely that, we're going to have at least 2 players back, you would imagine, when it comes round to these games after this break. Joe Linton certainly will be back, and you'd like to think Harvey Barnes is almost close to a return. But when you see the way the Botman came back, we didn't really know that Botman was close to a return. We knew that he was training on grass on his own, according to Eddie. Next thing you know, he's making an appearance on the pitch. So Eddie keeps his cards close to his chest. I think it's great that he does that. So I guess it's just a waiting game. We'll just have to wait and see. Good evening, Jules. I hope you are well. JJ says, FAB fully acknowledged and briefed 1960 Thunderbird. Yeah, I've got to be honest, it is funny, isn't it? Thunderbirds, of course. FAB. You do think about it when you hear that. Good evening, Alan. Thanks for your message on Facebook earlier on today. Are FAB going to say publicly that something the club doing is wrong? I don't think that is their remit. And I personally don't think that we will hear from FAB or see FAB's minutes from the meetings. I don't think that happened with the fans forum. So for me, no is the answer to that, Don. They are simply there as a conduit, which was the word that was used for the fans liaison committee. And it means they've got no power. They've got no, their job really is to be a buffer between the fans and the club. And when you think about it, they're not meeting me, Dad and Amanda and Jamie Rubin. And although maybe on the first meeting, there might be a little tea and biscuits shot of them all sitting there with Eddie Howard present. And, you just don't know, do you? But it is very, very likely that they're just going to meet with Darren Eales, Peter Silverson, either or both, maybe on the first one. And there'll be an agenda. Of course, there'll be an agenda, but they'll talk about things which have been listed on the website. And I mentioned them earlier on. It'll be club strategic vision, objectives, business operations, stadium and key match day issues, relevant heritage items, community activities, and the club's equality, diversity, and inclusion activity. It's as simple as that. That's all they'll talk about. I guess one of the concerns for everybody would be that, they liaise with those supporters and say, should we change the club's crest, or should we leave St James's Park? Those people don't speak for me. Those people probably don't speak for you. So is it right maybe that, that's the conduit that they choose? I would imagine they're not going to do that. I would imagine that they're probably going to still email us and speak to us directly via, the various channels that they use. But these people will, I don't know. Have they got a remit for people to approach them and say, we're not happy with this? I just don't know. Supporter services, which was set up to deal with supporter services. I've got to be honest, I've emailed them twice and not had a response. I've emailed them previous to that, and it took them 5 days to get back. I have met Sarah Metcalf. Me, Steve, and Keith Patterson went up. We met them. We asked them to go and see them. We weren't invited, but when we emailed them and asked if we could go and see them, we went up, and it was I think we covered it on the podcast. It was an amicable meeting. We mentioned a few things which seemed to raise an eyebrow or two, but we asked them a few questions, got very few answers, and that was that. Have I got a desire to go back up there? No. Did I have a desire to be part of any committee? No. I've received emails from the club where they've asked us to go in and talk about various things, i.e. they send it out to everybody. Do you want to apply to go and sit there? I've put my emails in and I've been knocked back every time. So listen, they'll just say it's random selection, which I'm sure it is. But, I think it is rather strange that none of us have been, selected. Mitch got an online selection, I think, for the international meeting that they had. And ultimately, when Neil went on that, I don't think he got the password code for a while. Did he get on? I can't even remember. But listen, it's not great. It's not great in that sense. It's not going to change the world, put it that way. But I will sit and watch with interest. I've also seen a couple of photos circulating where there's been a few of these people have met previously. So there is an allegation that's gone out that maybe this was a hand-picked committee. I just, again, I don't know, these people from Adam. And I don't just mean Adam. But, from my perspective, I just don't really know them. But I wish them all the best. And let's see how it all progresses. What else have we got in the chat tonight? Gary says, whether the lady from the States is right or wrong for the FAB, I know the club want to really grow the fan base in the States. Is that really going to grow the fan base in the States, though, Gary? A person who's only supported the club since 2023. What is her links to Newcastle United? And I don't know. I can see why people are getting upset about that. And I'll go back to our bio. Based in New York, I was introduced to NUFC just after the takeover. So that's 2 years ago. I'm an active member of Toon Army New York City, who regularly host supporters from across the US, UK, and around the world at our beloved home base of Peter Dillon's 36th Street. I attended my first match in Newcastle against Arsenal in May 2023, and since then I've been away to Leeds and Chelsea, followed by both Sam Fender shows at St James's Park. All 3 US Summer Series matches, Chelsea at home, and the Champions League game at PSG. I've also attended Newcastle United Supporters Club events in London and Paris. I graduated from the University of Michigan and the University of Connecticut School of Law. I'm a lifelong sports and music fan and have practiced law for many years in the film, television, music, and fashion industries. I just don't know what she brings to the table with regards to recruiting fan base in the States. I don't. But, as I say, I don't know her. So, she may well have some talents which are known to the club, and that's why she's been selected. I just don't know. I'm sure, though, that there are people, including Neil Mitchell, who could have done a much better job. But again, it just depends what they want what they want people to do. Why will billionaires listen to the fans as regards finances? They surely will not reveal their plan to all and sundry. It's a good question, George, and of course you're right. That's why I'm calling it a talking shop, which is what the fans liaison committee was. And it's not gonna change anything. It's not going to change anything. So yeah, look, George, 100% you're right. It's a tick box exercise for me. Gary says it would be interesting to see if NUFC Matters are having a meet and greet in the new year, and it would be good to put faces to names. We always do. We always have one at Christmas, and we always have an end of season do, Gary. So the end of season one will be announced probably in February. So keep an eye out for that. And there's Jules doing her bit. Don't forget to click the thumb up, subscribe, and share. Super chats are also available. And don't forget, I've noticed quite a few of you have done it already, but we have got a Facebook group. NUFC Matters. It's a group. So if you're on Facebook, get yourself on there and give us a follow and join the debate. And that's a great place for dropping in your opinions on the match. Also to drop in and stick your tweets of the weeks on there, or any pictures you want to share with us, day I met, etc., that we use on Amigos, or your first match. Drop them in on the Facebook group or send them to me at stevewraith. Okay, I'm going to go off for a drink of water. I'll be back after the ad break. And any questions you've got, stick them in the chat, and I will get to them after the ads. A big thanks to all our sponsors: Skips and Bins, telephone 0800 25 45 25 3, email inquiries at skipsandbins.com, website skipsandbins.com, easy contract, free and pay-as-you-go waste collection. Thanks again to Mr. Vicky's Sauces, handmade in Cumbria. If you'd like to order some, then give them a call on 01768 210 102. Go to the website, mrvickys.co.uk, or drop them an email, info@mrvickys.co.uk. A big thanks to United Group Travel. They're a family firm based in Morpeth with pickups throughout the Northeast. No strangers on our tours, just people you haven't met yet. They've got a presence on Facebook and a website, unitedgrouptravel.com. If you want to make a booking, give them a call on 01670 632 460, or mobiles 0791 666 4174, 0795 71 41654. Thanks to Darren Baldwin Funerals, independent funeral directors. Let us look after you in your time of need. They're based on Old Durham Road in Gateshead, and you can contact them at their website, darrenbaldwinfunerals.co.uk. Email darren@darrenbaldwinfunerals.co.uk, or give them a call, 0191 478 2730. A big thanks to Media Arts for all the help with the technical side of things. And a big thanks to New Workwear. You can find them at newworkwear.com. If you want to help the channel, hit the thumb up to subscribe, hit the subscribe button, and share to your other social media. You can also pay a one-off fee of £25 to get a scarf, a cup, a pen, and a membership card. Go to the website, nufcmatters.com, and click membership, or put your smartphone over this QR code. We also support the food bank on this channel. If you want to make some donations virtually, go to nufcfansfoodbank.co.uk and make a donation today. We're also a podcast on Spotify, iTunes, and other podcast providers. Just search NUFC Matters. I'm also a part of the Northeast Footy Brekkie Show. You can listen to that Monday to Friday, 7 till 9 at the tooneuk.com. We've also got an event coming up next year. It's in January the 19th at the Tyneside Irish Centre. It's an evening with Nobby Solano. Tickets are available on Voucher for £20. Don't forget, Supermac and Gibbo do every pre-match at Louis Liquor Store. It's free entry, children welcome, and there is great food by Fed's Fried Chicken. They're usually on pre-match and sometimes post-match at Louis Liquor Store. Okay, that event with Nobby Solano, of course, is in a couple of weeks' time this year. I'm going to have to redo the adverts at some point this week. Gary says, seen the paper links with Jordan Henderson. If it came to fruition, it might be the first player that I've not supported at the club. Barry says, I'm the only one who would rather sign a striker than Calvin Phillips. Steve, we've got some great midfielders already. Is there anyone you fancy bringing in? So difficult to bring a striker in, mate, at this period of time. If we're going to tap into the Saudi market, then, you could bring an attacking option in like Mane, but again, it's going to cost a fortune in wages. And I just don't, I was talking about this on the breakfast show this morning. I just don't understand financial fair play. And if anybody says they do, I think they're a liar. Because, it's impossible. How can a club like Chelsea spend £1 billion? And yet I heard Pochettino in his press conference for the Borough game tonight saying, will you have to sell anybody to buy? And he went, no. How is that even possible? How is that even possible? Their commercial revenue can't be that great. And they've spent £1 billion on players in the last 18 months. Crazy. Absolutely crazy. No problem, Dave. That's what I do these hours for. The FAB is a difficult thing to understand, isn't it? It really is. Why haven't we signed anybody, says Kenya Mags. Should have all been lined up in December to get them in early. If you listen to Eddie's press conferences, Kenya Mags, basically because he hasn't got a clue what he wants to sign. I imagine they've got a list of players, but the injuries have dictated what is more important. With players coming back in, and players going out injured, we just don't know. We don't know who we want, but I would imagine we will get Phillips in on loan. I don't think we'll sign a goalkeeper because I think ultimately, if you sign a goalkeeper, then it's got to be somebody that's going to be a replacement for Pope or somebody that's going to give competition to Pope. If we can bring a striker in, I think it'll be on loan, but I don't expect a great deal of action. I think the summer will be busy though. Genuinely interested, says Mark. What actual clout does Mirdad have? It's always Amanda and Mirdad this and that. In reality, isn't he just a husband of a minority shareholder? Great question. I think they're equals. I think Amanda wears the pants. I think Mirdad is very good at what he does in terms of business, but I think with a football club, I think they're very equal. I think they both play well they play well against each other, and I think they take turns of being the voice of reason. Got to bear in mind that our dealings with them were minimal, but we had lots of Zoom meetings with them prior to the takeover. I saw both sides of them, but Mirdad's a very clever guy and somebody who is very very good at the business that he does, but when you're a small shareholder as they are and as Jamie Rubin is, you don't have much say, do you? PIF make the decisions, really. They're the conduit. The PIF, Mark, is probably the best way that I could say that when you've got so little shareholdings. How many signings do you think will come through the door? Not many. I think they'll wait until summer, exactly, to then take a financial fair play blow this window when we are back foot in the league. I agree, Blue Rhythm Boy. I can't see many signings at all in this window. Alan says only 10 arrests at the derby. Now it's serious. The most shocking thing I saw was the homophobic threatening Nana. Hopefully she got her comeuppance. Well, she was reported, I believe. So I've seen rumours that she's been suspended from her job, etc., because of it. But listen, spent a lot of taxpayers' money sending us all there on buses, but it was well organised. And from my perspective, we can't complain. I guess we can't complain about how it worked out. Ferdinand or Cole? For me, Ferdinand all day. I am one of those who really looks at Andy Cole and can't forgive him, Andy, for the way that he danced and sang "Cheer Up, Kevin Keegan" at Wembley that day. So for me, or was it Cardiff? Cardiff, I think. I can't. He was prolific, Andy Cole. They were probably both at the club around about the same time, but I loved Ferdinand. I thought Ferdinand was the all-round player. Andy Cole was a proper fox in the box, but Ferdinand was great in the air and great with his feet. And he's such a great guy. Still is to this day. I've done a few talk-ins with him. George says, when do you think Newcastle will challenge for the league? Not for a while, mate. Not for a while. We need to win a cup first. Carabao Cup would be great. FA Cup would be fantastic. Europa would be nice if we can get into that next year. But we need to break the trophy drought, I think, before we can win the league. And maybe when Man City get, when De Bruyne and co get a bit older and they've got to rebuild. But not for a while. Not for a while at all, I don't think, anyway. Certainly not within the 3-year perspective that Amanda's given herself now. She said we'll be winning the league in 5 years. We've got 3 years left. If we are, I'll take my hat off to them. Stephen says the Mackhams at work finally broke the silence today, calling our players prima donnas for their passing warm-ups in front of them. I told them they did not notice it was those moves that destroyed them. Will I be doing a transfer show? Yeah, well, I mean, we do them all the time, Tom. I'm trying to work out a day and time for Ben to come on. So probably be doing a pre-record with Ben Friday, which will go out Saturday. And the dead pigeons have all gone, Tom. Made a nice pie. What do you think of the medical setup, Steve? I don't really know, Dave. I can't speak about it because I don't really know. Obviously, I know the names, but they mean nothing to me. The medical setup at this moment in time has been under pressure. That's what I think of the medical setup. But I haven't got an opinion because I don't know. We don't know why Newcastle are getting all these injuries and why these players have been, injured. It's it's been a tough season, but you sometimes get freak seasons like this. But I've had no reason to doubt it. That's for certain. Where do you think my lot will end up, says Andy? Genuinely speaking, I think you'll finish in the Champions League positions. You could be anywhere in the top two. You won't win the league. It'll be second, third, or fourth for you guys. I would imagine third or fourth. I think Man City and Liverpool will be neck and neck with each other. Although they've lost Alexander-Arnold today to go with Salah at the AFCON. So, they've lost a couple of key players. I think they've got an injury list which is creeping above ours now. But they're still picking up wins. Great win against Arsenal at the weekend. But I think you'll finish third or fourth. I think Newcastle will finish in the top 7. Would Timo Werner have been a good addition to the squad, and could he have provided cover in the forward positions? I wouldn't want Timo Werner. I didn't think he was very good when he was in the Premier League the last time. I can understand why Spurs have signed him. It's a short-term loan with an option to buy. But is he going to do a more Salah and turn himself around and play well at Spurs? Possibly. Who knows? But he couldn't have barn door, could he, at Chelsea? So I'm not sure. We might see a different player. Thanks, Kenny. Murphy, end of January, according to the EPL injury list. Interesting to see whether that happens. Charles, good evening. He says, evening, Steve. Who would you like to see signed in the next window? In this window, I would like to see Newcastle sign a midfielder and a centre forward. I think we'll only sign the midfielder. I'd be very surprised if Calvin Phillips isn't wearing black and white by the time Newcastle play in the next round of the FA Cup. Other than that, it'll be interesting to see if they do any business at all. Would you stick with Dubs or sign a keeper, says Clinton, considering his performance in the last 2 games? I don't think. I mean, look, De Gea would be great, but we can't afford his wages. I think that would upset the apple cart. If he's going to take a huge pay cut and come to the club, then maybe. But nah, I can't see it. I can't see it doing it. And would I stick with Dubravka till the end of the season? Yes, I would do. But I still think they need to sign another goalkeeper to compete with Nick Pope and to give backup as well. So I would sign a goalkeeper. I think that could be a summer priority. Did the FAB get a salary from the club? I would very much doubt it. I don't know, Mark, but I would say no. Mozambique Chili was lovely. I've done another tea tonight, which I will be sticking up on my Facebook page a little bit later on. I love the fact you've called us Steve Wraith. Barry, do you think the club should have been bringing people in as soon as the window opened? Otherwise, they've got no time to train with the team. I do prefer players coming in early, but it's down to whether those players are available to come in. And we've seen the Anthony Gordon deal and how they did that on the Amazon documentary. They don't like to rush to the Barry. They like it, and they don't want to get ripped off. So we seem to sign players a couple of weeks in. So let's hope next week is the turning point, and we'll see Phillips, coming into the club. Any inside news about commercial deals? Says Paulo, a little bit quiet about our development. And Captain Keeford says, do you have any idea when more sponsorships might kick in? I asked the question to the men who would know on the professionals on Sunday, Stu and Mitch, and it's gone very quiet, is what they said. So nothing incoming. At this moment, no. Blue Rhythm Boy. I've had a great one. I've had a medium one, and I've had an absolutely awful one with Paul. I've known him for years. And at the moment, he's very happy by all accounts. I do keep in touch with his family and see Paul from time to time when he's in the area. But at the moment, the answer is no, because of what happened at the last one. Mr. Wraith, says Alan, you must use steak mince and basmati rice. Boiling the bag is just lazy. High peas in. Celeb chefs are safe. Thank you, Alan, for your critique. Your last just said it would look really nice. Now you're calling us Mr. Wraith and saying that I should use steak mince. Well, but listen, we're not all la-di-da like you, mate. But that was very nice. Tom says, how is Buramag? Never heard from him. I spoke to him last week. He is great. And he will, at some point, pop back on the show. But he is very busy with work, very busy with the family. He went with our blessing. But he will return at some point, probably on the fans forum. That's what we're talked about. But he doesn't want to promise because he doesn't want to let anyone down. John, I've got no idea. It's a good question. Maybe if she's on social media, we could ask her. Maybe people have done that already. But I don't know, mate. What's the criteria for supporting a football club? 1 year, 5 years, or 40 years? Doesn't matter how long. The stick this lass is getting is shameful. But John, I agree. Social media, though, and when you put your head above the parapet, this is what happens. You just need to look at what's happened to me over the years to know that. And there isn't a criteria, but you would think that the club, when they're looking at the CVs for international supporters, and they're presented with one or two from fans who maybe been there, done it, got the T-shirt and been to games and, got the experience of fan campaigns. And I know I keep mentioning Neil, and you'd probably kill us for saying so. I think Neil Mitchell would have been a better candidate for the international. I do. He might not have wanted it, but he did put in for it. But I think that's why people are a bit knocked, John. How is Steve Wilkinson from the fans forum? I did text him on Sunday after the Derby win. Not heard back from him, but he is getting the treatment that he needs, mate. And Les, I'll pass on your best wishes. I'm sure he'll be happy about that. When you were last involved with the fans liaison, says Doug, did you feel like anything was achieved, and do you feel like Fab will follow suit? Nothing at all, mate. Absolute talk and shop. Waste of time when I was involved. I mean, to give you an idea, I got the job. I went in. I sat with the recruitment team, and basically had to go through all the rules and regs, what I could do, what I couldn't do. And then for the first 2 weeks, I didn't even have a desk and chair. And then when I got one, I was sat outside Hazel Greener, who was the head of PR and media's office, like a naughty schoolboy. And basically anything I suggested was always, poo-pooed, and I wasn't given an opportunity to do what I wanted to do. So I basically wasted 18 months of my life doing that job. The best part about it was that I could go and sit in the ground and have me lunch. I bumped into some of the players, got to know the players quite well, got to know Sir Bobby quite well when I was there. So all in all, complete waste of time though. I created this huge database of supporter clubs all over the world, and the club did absolutely nothing with it. I then got the situation where they were just, whenever there was somebody who had a complaint, they were sending me down to deal with it. It was a farce. It really was. Do you think Newcastle will still go for Nevers on loan from Saudi Arabia? There was never ever guaranteed that they were going to go for him, Tom. A lot of that was paper talk, mate. So I would say I don't think so. Where is Louis' liquor store? Not sure where it is. I didn't get out much. Big market, top of the big market. I'm trying to think what it used to be. It used to be that beer colour. That's what it used to be, mate. But if you're at the top of the big market looking down, it's not on the left, it's on the right. On the side that Macy's used to be, Gary, but it's at the top, right at the top of the big market on the right. It's like it looks like an American bar, a bit like Cheers. Mick says, I'll be in New York for the Man U away game on the 20th of April. Now I know where we will go for the game. Peter Dillon's. Yeehaw. Good stuff. You might see the new Fab representative there. She doesn't drink in the scrog, Gary. FFP goes on commercial revenue assets, what you own. We are on par with Brighton, Crystal Palace, and we are miles behind the highest earning clubs. Yeah, cheers, Derek. It's PCP who have 10%. PCP is equally Amanda and your dad's company. Correct, Tom. David, any idea how much money will be available for transfers in the summer and how much additional money will be available after recent sponsorships and European adventure this season? No, and nobody will know until the accounts come out, and the accounts are always a year behind. So I don't know what we've got available, and that's probably the best thing, because otherwise you get your pants pulled down and people putting up the price. I've been listening for the most part. Interesting Q&A. Thank you, Roger. Adieri Ray, I've answered this question, and I'm afraid you constantly copy and paste that question. And I know I have. Listen, I always give people an opportunity in this chat, but if that question comes in again, it'll be bye-bye, I'm afraid. And I'm very polite to everybody in this chat, but you're copying and pasting and sticking the same question in, and I've answered the question at night. So please don't send that question again. 1 cup of basmati rice, 2 cups of water. Bring to the boil until it starts to pit. Hoy a few petit pois in and hop it up for 10 minutes, Mr. Wraith. Bob's your uncle. Thank you, Alan. Great stuff. I didn't realize you were a chef. So you learn something new every day. Ferdinand and me, a very close second to Shearer. Tom, I would agree. And fancy, the fact we actually saw the two of them playing together, unbelievable. Unbelievable. Ferdinand for Andy, he says. Roger says, taxing parents and kitchen stuff, fun. All right, okay, you're talking about your job and what you're up to. Favorite restaurant, Portofino's. Jules, you should have known the answer to that question. No, I do quite. I like an Indians. The Simla is quite nice in Newcastle. There is, we've got a whole host of places you could go to if you want to. Panis on High Bridge is fantastic. Really nice. Where else? But yeah, I mean, there's a whole host of Indian restaurants in and around. Any of the Chinese, in King Neptune used to be my favorite in Stell Street. But yeah, Portofino's. Do we have a DM in the academy? Not sure, Captain. I'm not sure at all. Mr. Ice, he says, I need to know why Shearer was praising Arsenal on comms the other night. They didn't deserve anything, and he said it should have been 4 or 5-0. Interesting. Yeah, interesting. I did hear him that. He did big them up. Not sure why. But I had heard that, and then I saw your comment the other night. Ice Cube, they missed a chance beyond chance. The extra touches weren't necessary at all, but their tippy-tappy quality is where we're not at yet. Pleased to hear Gaza as well. Yeah, he seems to be very happy, mate, which is good news. Do you know what's holding up the fan zone? It's not due till April, Clinton. It did get put back. obviously, you know, they'd put the application in and then it didn't get passed straight away. And then, you know, they got through the red tape and it's been passed, but it's not going to happen until the end of the season, April, May. Kenya Mags, what happened to the weekly Ben Jacobs transfer shows on Tuesday? It's down to where Ben is in the world, Kenya Mags. He's got a job to do and he does this for free. So from my perspective, I'd love to have Ben on every week, but it's as and when with Ben. He literally jumps from one podcast and show and TV show to another, but he's taken on extra work. But we will have one. It's just when we can get him. Same with Melly. Melly supports, you know, the Premier League show and the Champions League show that we're doing with Melly. It's intermittent because Melly goes to a lot of Manchester United games, home and away. So every game for him is an away game. So, you know, Melly couldn't do tonight. And I thought, well, people were asking for a question and answer once every so often. So that's why I did this tonight. But yeah, Ben's show will be on Saturday. But unfortunately, we've all got lives away from the podcast, so it's as and when. But we try to be as regular with everything else. You know, Monday, the Fans Forum. Wednesday, Geordie's here, Geordie's there. Thursday, Super Mac and Gibbo. Friday, the Amigos. And so really, you know, Sunday, the Professionals. So really the 2 days that are flexible are Tuesdays and Saturdays. And I don't think that's a bad thing because, you know, I don't expect everybody to sit and watch every show. It'd be great if you did. But, you know, it's nice to have a couple of flexible shows. And I've got a couple of other things in the pipeline. Tonight at 8 o'clock, I've done a half-an-hour show, so it's only half an hour, where I'm going to be interviewing people from different fans groups around the world. So it's going to be, thanks, Mark, June then, Clinton. June, not April. So that's even later than I thought. But yeah, I've got a guy on from Munich, Mags. So tune in for that. Well worth a listen. I ask him a little bit about the derby and about football in general and the club in general, but he promotes, you know, where they go. So we're going to do more of these, introduce different supporters clubs, and you might be going to that part of the world, might want to go and watch the match. You'll have somewhere where you can say, right, I know that guy, I know where the drink, and I know the match is going to be on. Hopefully that'll help everybody. You know what I mean? Mark says Mitch probably wasn't the toe of the line enough for them. It'll be all yes men that sit like nodding dods in the meeting. Oh, yes. Mitch would have been great, says Dave. Clinton, you got the numbers for the Euro Millions. Can you send them to me, mate, as well, instead of sending recipes, Alan? Is John and Super Mac back on Thursday? Yes, they are. Didn't you work at the club when Rafa was there too? Yeah, but I didn't work for the club, Blue Rhythm Boy. I worked for Rafa, and it was a good relationship in the sense that we got treated well by Rafa and his representatives. It wasn't a 9 to 5 job. It wasn't a payroll job. It was a job where they looked after me and my brother and my dad. We got a chance to go to the games in the director's box, and that was enough for me. I didn't want payment for doing it, and it wasn't a great deal to do. I just helped. I was a conduit. There's that word again, between the club and between the fans and Rafa, and I helped Rafa out a lot, and I still keep the relationship going. We still speak. Sadly, his lawyer passed away, Richard, who was a great lad, but Owen Brown, still keep in touch with him, and I'm still working on getting Rafa back to the northeast at some point. I have got that in the bank. When he's ready to come, he'll come back and do a talking for us, which is nice. Daboal is very nice. Yeah, I've been there loads of times. Calvert-Lewin's red card's been rescinded. Yep, saw that, Gary. Cafe Andaluz is great for Spanish food. Yeah, I've never really been there, I've got to be honest. Fan Zone in June the earliest now. It was reported yesterday. Wow. Is the podcast your main job now, Steve? Yeah, I would say it is. The breakfast show as well. I do 5 days a week on the breakfast show. That's a paid job. So yeah, the fan, doing Newcastle United related stuff is something I can do, standing on my head. But it gives me the opportunity, Blue Rhythm Boy, to focus on other stuff. So I'm doing it. I'm writing a play at the moment, and concentrating on the stuff that I enjoy doing. I'm approaching 52. I've done most of the things I want to do, but I'm still doing events. Got a few events coming up this year. Not as many as I used to do, but yeah, I would say this is the one thing I do on a regular basis. So yeah, I would say yes. Acting when it comes along is great. it's few and far between. I do some. I did a sound recording job. I was working behind the camera doing the sound on a film before Christmas, which was great. I did 8 days on that. So yeah. But the podcast is probably my main job. Thank you, Jules. Brilliant. Thank you for coming on, and thank you for modding as usual. Tom, thanks for popping on again as well. I love your new name, Mr. Wraith. Probably unique, but Mr. Wraith's unique as well, isn't it, Mick? For God's sake, you'll be sending us recipes next, like Alan. No nonsense, but informed opinion, says Les. Please hit the like button and subscribe to the podcast. Yeah, some of you watch it on TV, and I do repeat this every now and then. But please, if you got 5 minutes, find NUFC Matters on your phone or on your computer on YouTube, and just click subscribe. It is free, and if you're not doing it already, and if you're watching it on your computer or watching it on your phone, if you see the little bell that is there, the notification bell, if you hit that and just click all notifications, you'll get notifications for all the shows. Again, that helps us massively. It's little things like that which help us. Worthy, Worthy, says Ian. Thanks, mate. Another name. Today's word is conduit. It is, yes. Billy, good evening. Fury or Usyk? If you mean who's going to win the fight, I think Usyk. And that's going against my friendship and relationship that I've had with Fury and his team. I genuinely feel Usyk can cause an upset here, because I think Fury will beat himself. He doesn't look fit. The fact he put the fight back is concerning enough. But hopefully I'm wrong. I'd love to see Fury unify the belts and retire, or unify the belts and give Joshua a crack. But it'll be interesting to see. But Usyk has been professional throughout, and it'll be a hell of a fight. It's one I'll pay to watch, that's for certain. Nothing at the minute, Dave. No. I had a few castings prior to Christmas. I had a casting for Emmerdale, which was great. Which you don't get if you don't get the part. I'm past the point of being disappointed. But that was good for me, because it means the casting director saw me show reel, saw me CV, and went, "Oh, we'll have a look at him." That means I'm in the eye line now, so something could come up. But I'm not in a rush. You know what I mean? I've got a good CV now, and let's see what happens. Thanks, Tom. Says, I love the breakfast show. Borough and Sunderland fan make me laugh on there. Yeah, they're good lads. I'm looking forward to meeting Ted the Macam in a month's time. He's coming over. Rye, of course, lives in Australia, so it's going to be a while before we see him. But great. Rafa event sounds interesting. Yeah, it will be great. I get the impression he doesn't want to come until it's not safe to come. But I mean, he didn't want to usurp or embarrass Eddie Howe by coming and everyone talking about him and upsetting the apple cart. So I think he'll come, but he was working. He has been working, so that's great. Do you fancy doing more of your radio show on Matters? I enjoyed the last one. I think we would, Doug. I think the radio station would be a bit peeved. They allowed us to do that. I just think they would be a little bit peeved if I did it on a regular basis. But I certainly think I will do another one before the end of this season. We are going to jump on the Borough Fans podcast when Sunderland play Middlesbrough, which is February. So I'll promote that on here. I'll stick it on, and you'll be able to see us all together on there. But what I might do is get them back together in May at the end of the season, and we can chat about it then, Yes, Dave, thank you, mate, for promoting that. If you can hit the thumb up underneath, even that just helps. Up to 50 likes now anyway. Joshua wins that for me, Mark. You know what, Joshua, what a waste. What a waste. Great character, great person. But just gone down in my estimations over the last few years. Still good to put yourself out there. Of course it is, Dave. I've got an agent in Newcastle and an agent in London, and they do their best for us. I'm meeting my agent this week. We always have a catch up in January. So yeah, that is me. That is my goal, to get on a show. It'd be nice to get a permanent position if I did it. Ross, would you consider a show on Freemasonry? It's unfortunately an agent fraternity and is crying out for members. I wouldn't at the moment, Ross. I've got to be perfectly honest. It's not something I would do. This is a football channel. I've turned it round. I used to do a podcast on here. I used to do, true crime. I will occasionally dip into the odd celebrity on here, but it's a football channel. It was a conscious decision to make it NUFC Matters and change it. And I won't be going back. I won't be going back onto that. Cheers, Dave. Glad you enjoyed it, mate. If you can leave a review on Amazon or IMDb, it does help. It does help. Okay, well, I'm over the hour mark, and people will probably go off to watch the Middlesbrough game now. Blue Rhythm Boy says, did you get the new Beatles Red and Blue remix albums? What did you think? Had the new song on too. I did like them, and I did get them, and I did think they were really good. I thought it was weird to have a song which didn't fit either of those two albums because it fell fell outside the date remit, but very good, yeah, very good. Great to listen to them, really was. Dan says, love this channel. Long may it continue. Thank you, Don. Means a lot, mate. And look, mate, I enjoy doing it. I never thought when I started this in lockdown that I would become a YouTuber and continue to do so. And I'm humbled by the fact that we've got 51,500 people on here now. We're edging closer to the capacity of St James's Park. I mean, that's mental. There's only me and maybe one other channel, I think, is at those kind of numbers. So I'm honoured, and we've got a great chat as well. I love the fact that people from other clubs come in. Andy Brogan has joined us. We've got a Man United fan that dips in and out. We've got a Borough fan that dips in and out. I just love the fact that we've got people coming on the channel and they're made to feel welcome by you lot. And the moderators do a great job. We don't have as much bother as we probably did when I was doing the true crime stuff, but as far as trolls, if you like, but it's great, and long may it continue, and I'm glad that you all enjoy it. The wife says I make a great chili, says Mick. I bet you do. Excellent show, great questions, honest answers. Hit the thumb up and the subscribe on your way out. Do I speak to Shearer much? We'll keep in touch by text. I tend to speak to him a lot when we're going to do an event. Certainly looking at doing an event in the next couple of years. Again, I've got a big one to announce soon, which won't be till next year, so keep an eye out for that. It's another one, another really big one. But my plan is not to do as many small events and just do one or two big events a year. That's the plan. Belly pork for me tonight. Oh, very much enjoy that. David Cook, how are you? Your channel's the best Newcastle channel by far. Love you all. Thank you very much, mate. Much appreciated. I will do another one, Dave. I enjoy doing it. Thank you, and thanks, Mozza. Thanks for that. Jules says, great to see so many faces in the chat to speak to who are here so often since the beginning. Yeah, and we'll miss people, Dave Harrison, Chris Algairis, who could forget as well, our friend Steve Bruce out. We've had so many people in the chat, and just seeing the likes of Jules and Kenny Ranson, been with us from the start. People who support us all the way from the start. Your support is gratefully received. And what's pleased me is I've got to know a lot of you personally. Got to meet quite a few of you over the years, and hopefully that'll continue. Roger's a regular in the chat now. We've met Roger a couple of times at events. So hopefully the end of season event. We try to tie it in with the last game of the season. That's always the plan, and the big thing about that game is it very rarely gets moved. So Newcastle play Brentford away this year. We might aim for that weekend and maybe go for the Saturday, so then people who are going to the match don't have to worry about going to the game. They can come to Newcastle, and people will be in Newcastle on the Saturday night and then go away on the Sunday. Or we could aim it for the Sunday. If you've got a suggestion, let us know. But maybe we do it on Sunday the 19th. I don't think the game will be televised though, because ultimately it'll be bigger games. Yeah, Clark, he'll be back on the channel soon. Been having a chat with him. Stu Flyboy, that was him, wasn't it? Bruce out, fantastic. Do you play any instruments, Steve? Being a music fan, no. Didn't have the patience. Blue Rhythm Boy as a kid, never had the patience. This is why I've started cooking this year. I've made a conscious decision to do something that I've always boxed away from. I was brought up in an era where everything got done for you by your mum. So then, it's carried on in my married life. I've got to be perfectly honest. And I just said, look, I'm going to learn to cook, and I've promised I would do it, and I've promised I would do it. And I've never done it. I said, this is the year. So last night was my first attempt. I made a chili con carne. Tonight, I prepared for the family pasta, a bacon and courgette pasta with creme fraiche and garlic bread. So, yeah, it's meal 2 done. I'm flying through them. Proud of that, though. You play record, Alan. I bet you do. Badly. Thanks, Steve. This channel is the best by far. Cheers, Kenny, mate. No chance of going back on the doors. Nah. You know what, Roger? When I didn't renew my license in, what was it? I came off the doors in 2012 and I renewed my license for 4 years. And in 2016, I forgot to do it. And I thought, well, there you go. You know, I'm out of the game now. So no is the answer to that. I always thought I might go back to it, but the answer is definitely no. You know, you've been here a while when you know Flyboy's first handle that you told him to change. Oh, my God. Yes, do you remember? Doug, that was hilarious, by the way. That was hilarious. Here we go. I did. Now, listen, some of you might have just seen what I've done there, but I'm afraid that had to be done. You know, I did make it quite clear, and that is the end of that. Get yourself on MasterChef, Steve, or Bake Off, David. I'm not at that level. Some people might say Steve Wraith's a singer, mainly Steve. Jules, I can't sing. I just choose to sing badly on this platform. The mention of Lee Clark makes me wonder if we get Bobby back at some point. Wow, that would be great, wouldn't it? He was on the bench the other night as well. That's how bad the injury list is. He's, you know, obviously he's not far away from a first team debut. I made that sound crap, didn't I? But he's on the bench through merit. But you know, he's got an opportunity maybe to get into the team now, Jonathan. But yeah, I'd like to see him. Yeah. Yes, my lass might get used to it and make it the full-time cook. One of my daughters said it was the best chili she'd had, which went down well. I think that's and I got told by one of my mates today, that's the psychological, that like they'll say they'll get the kids to say it's the best, and then you're stuck with doing it. But no, I've got to crack on. I've got to do it. I said I was going to do it. I'm going to do it. Stephen, Wraith's Wraith's Meals on Wheels. Send it round to you. Yes, we've got an air fryer, mate, and that's changed the face of cooking, hasn't it? Did the garlic bread in the air fryer today. Get yourself on MasterChef. I seen your message, Rob. I'll have a listen to it in a bit, mate. Yes, Alan. Unfortunately, I had to do that, didn't I? Werner's just saying for Spurs, I would have took him at the tune. Yeah, listen. Is it the same? Is it the same Werner? You know, was it Chelsea? I'm not sure if that's a great one or not. Oh, it was a loan, you mean? Okay, fair enough. Yeah, sad, mate. I don't like doing that to people, Dave, but it had to be done. You'll have to get a tune apron now, Steve. I enjoyed your cooking vid. Andrew, the next one will be going up today. I think the missus who's teaching us how to do this, though, she's I see a concerned look when I'm filming the little bits and bobs because I'm not keeping an eye on the pan. So I've got to remember you've got to do that. Bruce mentioned Bobby Clark on a Sky podcast the other day saying he fought to keep him. Oh God, I watched that. You know, did you see him on Sky, Blue Rhythm Boy? And he was on, and he just reinvents history, man. He reinvents history. He winds me up so much, Steve Bruce. Absolute. He was talking about a player and manager dispute and saying that it should be sorted out and shouldn't be left to fester. I felt like if I'd been able to tweet in and say, well, what about the Longstaffs? What about the Longstaff situation in Newcastle? Yeah, annoys me that. Try and make homemade bread. Now, I used to do that with my granddad years ago, Rob. But he got a bread maker. But my granddad wasn't very good at it. And I remember walking in one day and there was three loaves of varying texture and size and different colours. It was a bit strange, that. But yeah, I did do a little bit of that. Bobby came in, did well. Yeah, he's a good player. He is a good player. Did you put dark chocolate in your chili? Oh, God, Tom, no. Why would you do that? Dark chocolate in your chili? That's sacrilege. Kidney beans, mate. Kidney beans. Mince, kidney beans, tomatoes. No chocolate, for God's sake. What on earth? Clark came on versus Arsenal, made a good tackle and took one for the team. Yeah, he's a good lad. Good player. Tom likes a hot vindaloo. Loads of jalapenos and chilies. Dear God, Tom, I wouldn't want to follow you to the toilet after that, son. Air fryer changed our lives. Yeah, I mean, some people have got two. I mean, the big old units, aren't they? But they are. It's more advisable to use an air fryer than a microwave these days, I think. And your waistline, says Alan. Clark from Sunderland, West Ham want to sign him. Saw that, Tom. Yeah, interesting. Steve, chili needs chocolate. Tom knows. What the hell? Chili and chocolate. Bread's a doddle in the air fryer, Steve. All right, I'll have to look at that. Champion. Okay, 1:15. We could talk all night. Just a square or two. Okay. I'll mention this to the missus and see which eyebrow gets raised. Okay, I am off Wednesday night. Kidney beans and dark chocolate. This is going on. Lots of people do. 1 block of dark chocolate, says Billy, is a game changer. Bloody hell. Never even thought of it. Take care, everyone. Yeah, Tom, cheers. Okay, I am off. This will be forever known as the show that Wraith was no more. But thanks for coming on. Thanks for the questions. I'll be back tomorrow night, Wednesday night. Geordie's here. Geordie's there. 6 o'clock. But don't forget, tune in 8 o'clock. It's only half an hour long. Well worth watching the Munich Fans program. It's the first of a new series. Enjoy it. And thank you for tuning in. Take care, guys.